Throughout history, leaders have commissioned treasure hunts from around the world, spurring out for the lust of gold. Many of these treasure hunts were futile, having been invoked by folklore and legend. Such was the quest for El Dorado, led by Sir Walter Raleigh between 1595 and 1617. The misinterpretation of the European explorers' accounts of El Dorado prompted the exploration of the Orinoco River Valley and the Andes, which would lead to colonization and inter-Andean trade in Colombia and Peru.
I'm here under the majesty of the burning summer sun here in the Almeidas province, said to be home of the lost city of gold El Dorado. Hello, I'm Peter Weller, and today I'm here to take you on a perilous journey to Lake Guatavita to find the truth behind the myth.
Unlike the Aztec and Inca empires, the Muisca were a loose confederation of separate tribes bound together by the omnipotence of their Zipa, or Sun King. Muiscan anthropology traces its mysterious origin from its early peoples foraging in the Orinoco River Valley. Over several generations, mass migration led to the Muisca developing agricultural and trade centers within the Altiplano Cundiboyacense, or Colombian Andes. Muiscan society coveted ornaments of bead and building materials rather than plentiful natural resources begotten by trade with the surrounding indigenous groups. The accrued gold became the subject of religious rituals and ceremonies. The bountiful use by the Muisca, paired with the money-hungry nature of the European explorers, ultimately led to the downfall of the native people of South America.
Here I am along the shores of Lake Guatavita. With an abundance of gold and no societal value to it, the Muiscan people found the shiny material attractive and royal. Subsequently, this led to glamorous performance and rituals. Most famous one none other than that of El Dorado.
Actually named El Dorado Hombre, El Dorado was a religious celebration honoring the appointment of a new Zipa, or king. The successive leader was painted in golden dust and set afloat on a raft, accompanied by various valuable relics. His new constituents embrace him by throwing golden ornaments into the lake as he floats by. In 1480, centuries of the celebration of El Dorado had ended. When the Spanish arrived in South America, the ceremony had been abandoned with the formation of the Muisca Confederation, but the natives' rumors spread across the West Indies, acknowledging its existence. Historian Marshal de Brule notes that, in fairly short order, the credulous Spaniards had transmogrified the Golden Man first into a city, then into a kingdom, and finally into an empire of fabulous wealth. An extensive literature grew up around the legend, and there were even maps of the purported El Dorado.
Although colonization was becoming more prominent, wealth was the new go-to objective. The greatest appeal of the Americas was the promise of riches after the numerous reports of gold and wealth reached the homeland. These tales catalyzed the Spanish colonization of South America, as the Spanish crown ordered the establishment of municipalities for explorers searching for gold.
The Europeans' greed for gold and wealth was so great that they were willing to sacrifice many resources and lives to obtain this metal. This obsession with the alleged city of gold spread over the course of centuries and would lead to the sending off of explorers by powerful individuals in Europe.
No one is immune, it seems. Kings, poets, philosophers, priests, buccaneers, conquistadors, missionaries, all fell under the sway of legend, and so the search was soon on, a search that has continued for centuries.
After Benalcazar explored the coast of Peru, he joined Francisco Pizarro in his conquest of the Inca in 1531. During this time, the Incan Empire was in turmoil. Atahualpa, the last Sapa Inca, waged war with his half-brother Huéscar for the throne. Huéscar was defeated, and his king and supporters were slaughtered. Atahualpa slaughtered Inca historians and destroyed their quipu, in which he called Pacatuqui, or turning over the time and space. However, the Inca remained divided. Pizarro weaponized this divide, allying the Spaniards with Inca rebels. In 1532, Pizarro and the Spaniards captured Atahualpa, slaughtering 5,000 Incans an hour. Atahualpa was ransomed for 24 tons of gold and silver, but he was executed by Pizarro for being a heathen in 1533. After the ransom and his subsequent death, rumor of Atahualpa's treasure spread rampantly among the conquistadors. If the Inca, without his hesitation, surrendered 24 tons of gold and silver to the Spanish. There must be plenty more where that came from. For that reason, Sebastian de Benalcazar abandoned the settlement of San Miguel to march north to conquer Quito in 1534, against Pizarro's command. Intent on finding Quito's treasure, Benalcazar tracked and captured the Huayna general Rimahanui, torturing him to death in 1535. In 1535, he journeyed north into modern-day Colombia to search for El Dorado and its treasures. He had no luck in finding the city of gold, but instead founded the city of Cali in 1536, and the cities of Pasto and Popayan in 1537.
Spaniard Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada was a conquistador, chronicler, and discoverer of the kingdom of Nueva Granada, where he founded its capital, Santa Fe de Bogota. His previous reputation earned him employment with the Royal Chancellery of Granada. In 1535, Pedro Fernandez de Lugo, governor of the Canary Islands, having brought the governorship of Granada, appointed Quesada to chief magistrate, and the two sailed to Colombia. Lugo and Quesada had journeyed to Colombia to discover El Dorado, believing they would find a very rich land full of gold and pearls. But when, after the 2-month navigation, they reached a small coastal settlement of Santa Marta, all they found was a conglomeration of hovels and filthy, disease-ridden colonists who were dressed in skins or roughly woven cotton clothes made by the Indians. Food became scarce, and tropical fevers plagued the colonists. For that reason, in 1536, Lugo chose Quesada to lead an expedition into the interior of Colombia, hoping to discover the fabled El Dorado. All previous expeditions into the heart of Colombia had failed because of the steep and dense jungles, the raging rivers, the ruthless mosquitoes, and the warring natives. With great difficulty, Quesada arrived with 166 men out of the original 900 to the fertile land of Bacata, a thriving area of commerce and civilization slightly larger than Switzerland, inhabited by the Muisca people. Quesada, with the help of his brother, capitalized on a war between the chiefdoms of the Muisca Confederation to then conquer the Muisca, often resorting to reason and diplomacy, then bloodshed. The land of the Muisca Indians was named Nuevo Reino de Granada on August 6, 1538. Santa Fe de Bogota was founded. Later, Bogota was to be renamed Bogota, and an important economic epicenter of trade and commerce was born.
An anomaly in the Spanish-dominated search for El Dorado was the expedition commissioned by the great German banking house of Welser, based in Augsburg, Germany. In commission for a large loan, the Habsburg Holy Roman Emperor Charles V granted a large swath of Venezuela, extending without limit to the south, as a hereditary fief. In return, the Welsers were obliged to conquer the natives and colonize the country. Nicholas Fetterman, having been sent by the Welsers to explore Venezuela in 1529, presided over the colony of Little Venice before exploring over the northern Orinoco River basin in 1530. In 1535, Fetterman explored the northernmost Colombia for El Dorado. After exploring the Caribbean coast of Colombia, he founded Rio Hacha and other several coastal colonies, continuing a search for El Dorado. He traversed through Cordillera Oriental of the Colombian Andes, through the Venezuelan Llanos, initiating inter-Andean trade with the natives, and crossed into Bogota, where he met Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada, who had already conquered the Muisca. Together with de Quesada and Sebastian de Benalcazar, he refounded Bogota on April 27, 1539.
Sir Walter Raleigh was an English soldier and explorer in the late 1500s, the favorite of Queen Elizabeth, who conceived and organized the colonization of America. He betrayed the Queen, and she revoked his nobility in 1592. Raleigh, in 1595, the midpoint of his disgrace, was obsessed about discovering El Dorado and claiming its riches for the English crown, a desperate ploy to restore his nobility. He conceived the English crown to finance 2 expeditions for El Dorado, the first in 1595, the second in 1616. He explored the Orinoco River Delta, the junction of the Orinoco and the Caroni rivers, but failed to locate El Dorado. However, his expeditions for El Dorado were not entirely fruitless. Raleigh succeeded in weakening the Spanish colonization of the region, establishing English settlements amongst the befriended Indians.
Raleigh alters his negotiation style with the native people in order to obtain more gold for himself and future explorers. His tendencies towards nonviolence still represented his disinterest in conquest or slavery. He wasn't a man of greed. He was a man of diligence and foresight. Raleigh's mission towards a peaceful exchange was hindered by an uncalled-for violence by his men on a failed river voyage. This impediment would lead to Raleigh's execution in front of the British royal court. Two other arguments for the Spanish' interest in South America in the 1500s focus on the establishment of a trade route to Asia and the evangelization of the indigenous peoples. Even today, there exist true believers. Somewhere in the Amazon, they say, there exist the remains of El Dorado. They buttress their beliefs, if not their case, by pointing to the thousands of gold objects, often of great beauty, that were produced by the Indians and that have survived. Many, tellingly, are of a golden man.